All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. So this weekend actually puts us exactly 12 weeks out from the 2019 Mr. Olympia in Las Vegas in September. So now that we've hit the 12-week mark, a lot of the competitors that are competing in the Olympia are beginning to post 12-week out updates and post prep updates because now at 12 weeks out, we're really getting close to the Olympia. We're really, it's Olympia time now. It's time for Olympia video. So in this video, I wanted to go over again the current list of qualified bodybuilders for the 2019 Mr. Olympia, show you guys some of their 12-week out pictures, and also talk a little bit about the point standings of qualified bodybuilders so far for the Olympia. Now, keep in mind here, this list still does have the ability to change between now and the Olympia. There's a handful of pro shows. There's the Chicago Pro, the Vancouver Pro, the Tampa Pro, the British Grand Prix. So there are opportunities for these point standings to change and also for guys to qualify and be added to the actual official qualified list. So the way this works, on that right-hand column there, those are the bodybuilders that have not won a show or qualified for the Olympia yet, but those are the point standings for the bodybuilders that have been competing over the 2019 Olympia season. So the way that column works is the top 3 bodybuilders in the point standings, when the Olympia comes around, those bodybuilders qualify for the Olympia, even though they didn't win a show or qualify the same way the guys on the left-hand column did. The top 3 in point standings will be qualified for the Olympia when the Olympia comes. So let's actually talk about the points column first, because we haven't really talked about this too much yet this year. So the top 3 in points are Akeem Williams with 23 points, Cedric McMillan with 16 points, and Luke Sandow also with 16 points. Now, like I said, these point standings can change. There's the possibility that someone else could qualify on points if they did really, really well at basically every show between now and the Olympia. But I think for one, it's pretty safe to say that Akeem Williams is going to the Olympia. I don't think anyone is taking away that number 1 spot from Akeem with that solid lead of 23 points. I mean, no one else is even close to that. Akeem's not going anywhere, so it's safe to say that Akeem's going to be at the Olympia. Now, based on what I've heard, I don't think we're going to see Cedric McMillan at the Olympia. He technically will probably qualify based on points, but again, based on what I've heard, I don't think Cedric is doing it. Now, Luke Sandow in third in the point standings. Now, apparently Luke is not going to be doing that British Grand Prix at the end of June and trying to win that show to qualify for the Olympia. He's going to try to get there on points. So he's assuming that his top 3 status is not going to change between now and the Olympia, which there is a little bit of risk in that. I mean, it's very, very unlikely, I think, at this point, that someone would knock off Luke Sandow with 16 points at this point in the season. I do think it's possible, but I think it's very, very unlikely that Luke Sandow is going to lose that top 3 standing in the points. Now, there are some other guys on this list that I think are going to be competing to win a show, one of these upcoming shows, and actually qualify by winning. So I think a lot of these, there might be some guys in these lower point rankings that aren't going to move up in the point system, but might possibly win a show and qualify that way. So that's still a possibility as well. So let's go ahead and break down the left-hand side here. This is the guys that we know are already qualified for the 2019 Mr. Olympia. So you got Sean Roden, of course. He won the Olympia last year. A Mr. Olympia winner is then qualified for life. That's important to know as we're going through the rest of this list, because we're going to get to another name on here, Dexter Jackson, which I think is an interesting one. Phil Heath, also on this list, also Mr. Olympia, qualified for life now. I think we should also have the caveat while we're reading this list of understanding that just because there's names on this list does not mean these bodybuilders are going to be competing at the Olympia. It just means they are qualified to compete. This does not mean they've confirmed they're competing at the Olympia. This is just a qualified competitors list. So you got Roy Winkler, William Bonac, Brandon Curry. Those were your top guys from last year's Olympia. That's how they qualified. You've got Dexter Jackson. So this is interesting because Dexter Jackson is qualified for life. If you don't remember, he won the 2008 Mr. Olympia, and he's been a top placer at the Olympia basically ever since. Now, we know that Dexter is doing the Tampa Pro, which is a show that is right before the Olympia. So I think this confused a lot of people because I see in the comments sometimes when I'm talking about that topic, people are like, well, Dexter Jackson, what if he doesn't qualify for the Olympia? Why is he waiting till the last minute like that? So Dexter isn't doing Tampa to qualify for the Olympia. Dexter is doing Tampa because he wants to add that title to his resume. It's a show that he hasn't won yet. He wants to add another pro win to that already very impressive resume. So I'm sure there are probably some bodybuilders that aren't yet qualified for the Olympia. Probably a guy like Big Ramy, who was originally planning on doing Tampa, that are probably a little bit disappointed when they heard that Dexter is doing the Tampa Pro, because Dexter doesn't need to qualify. They probably didn't expect him to do a show like that, which would serve as a very good last-ditch effort for a bodybuilder that has not yet qualified for the Olympia to jump in a last-minute show like that probably no top Olympians are going to be at. Because it's so close to the Olympia, why would they want to ruin their prep for the actual show and do a show like that? So a show like Tampa is usually, a good opportunity for a lesser-known guy or maybe a less talented guy to qualify for the Olympia. So I'm sure a lot of those guys are probably not too happy to see Dexter doing it. And that could very likely have played a role in why we're not going to see Big Ramy in Tampa and probably not going to see Big Ramy at the Olympia. So you also have Clarence DeVise. You've got Max Charles, you've got Steve Kuklo, Juan Morel, Josh Lenardowitz, Patrick Moore, and John De La Rosa. So right now you've got 13 men that are actually qualified for the Olympia, plus the top 3 in point standings. It's looking to be about 16 competitors at the Olympia, with the wild card factor of whether or not Phil Heath is going to show up. Maybe 1 or 2 names might be added to that qualified list over the next couple months. Now, I, for one, actually think this is going to make for a very exciting Mr. Olympia competition. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, the Olympia is going to be boring this year. You don't have Phil. You don't have Ramy. You don't have Kai. And to those people, I would say, well, number one, you don't know for a fact that you don't have Phil. And we still really don't know for a fact that we don't have Ramy. We're probably not going to know until Tampa's over whether or not Ramy is going to make that attempt or not to qualify for the O. But without Phil, without Ramy, without Kai, even though Kai has been out of the conversation for a while, I think this leaves the top 3 wide open. I think this leaves the top 6 wide open. And the reason why I think that's going to make the Olympia interesting is it's going to make it a very competitive Olympia, because those placings that were kind of predetermined in the past, that top 6 was kind of a very tough group to crack. I think there's a very real opportunity for somebody new this year, maybe multiple new people, to crack the top 6 and even crack the top 3. So even though we're not going to have these heavy hitters like Phil Heath or Big Ramy, and again, we don't really know that for a fact, we could still have both of them and it would be a crazy Olympia, but I think that's going to open up the opportunity for these guys to be even more competitive, and these guys that are fighting for a top 6 spot, a top 3 spot. I think what's going to happen here is we're going to see some new guys rising to the top. So that wraps it up for the video today, guys. Just a little bit of an Olympia preview for you guys today. 12 weeks out is kind of a big milestone and getting pretty close to the Olympia. So thank you guys for watching the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Please subscribe to this channel, because you do know there's going to be plenty of Olympia updates over the next 12 weeks, and of course at the Olympia on this channel. So if you want Olympia news, make sure you subscribe to this channel. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.